It goes without saying that proper ergonomics is a crucial aspect in pistol design. Unlike rifles, which give you your cheek, your shoulder, and your entire support hand to stabilize the gun, pistols leave you with just your palms. Which brings us to the star of our video today, the Walther PDP Performance Duty Pistol by VFC. Word on the street is, this gun is the new standard in pistol ergonomics. So today, we're going to find out if this airsoft gun lives up to the reputation of the real gun. So as usual, let's start from the outside and work our way in. So inside the cool looking box, you'll find the PDP. Now, typical of VFC, you notice the beautiful details and finish. And this being a fully licensed model, you can expect to find all of the trademarks and serial numbers where they belong. Now, as I pick up the PDP, one of the things I immediately notice is the super terrain serration, both on the front and the back of the slide. These protruding cuts are supposed to give you positive grip under all conditions, gloved or bare hand. And on the side of the gun, we have fully ambidextrous controls. We have symmetrical slide release on both left and right hand side. And we have a reversible magazine catch, which can be removed and installed the other way for left hand use. Now, moving on to my favorite thing about this gun so far is the performance duty texture. These little pointy hexagons give your palm a really good bite without being overly abrasive on bare hands, as to not simultaneously exfoliate your palms every time you shoot. This overall design is what Walther calls red dot ergonomics, because it's specifically optimized for pistol red dot use. So in a moment when we hit the range, we will install a red dot sight to see exactly how this benefits your shooting. Since the real PDP's introduction in 2021, it has become Walther's flagship pistol, replacing the former PPQ, which I happen to also have. So let's do a quick side-by-side comparison to see what has changed and what has remained the same. We can see that the overall footprint is almost identical between the two guns, so much so that the PDP can actually fit inside the foam cutout for the PPQ. It's also obvious that the PDP design has a lot more bulk on the top. As much as I personally prefer the sleek profile of the PPQ, I must admit the PDP is much nicer to handle. The added width on the top of the slide also allows it to be designed to take Glock spec iron sights for more aftermarket options. So you can install VFC compatible sights on the PDP, although some slight tolerance adjustment might be needed. So just like the PPQ, the PDP's magazine release is reversible for left-hand use. However, one thing that really confuses me here are these higher set of magazine notches. Since the two pistols have the magazine release at the exact same position and engages the magazines at the same height, the purpose of these higher notches are still unclear to me at the moment. And unlike recent VFC pistols, PDP's magazine has the fill valve on the bottom instead of the back. My guess would be that VFC probably repurposed some of the PPQ's toolings to produce the PDP. But the good news is, if you own the PPQ, you can use the PDP magazines. However, it won't work the other way around because PPQ's magazines are wider towards the front and it will not fit inside the PDP's grip. Now let's remove the slide and take a look at the internals. You can see that the fire control group is very similar to the one found in VFC Glocks. Yes, in fact, this is the exact same fire control group. We also happen to have a VFC Glock 45. Let's take this one apart as well. As you can see, the fire control group are identical. This means upgrade parts such as steel hammers and sears are cross-compatible between the two platforms. Another thing I accidentally discovered is that the PPQ's outer barrel appears to work in the PDP. So let me go ahead and demonstrate that. As you can see, the outer barrel profile is pretty much identical between the two barrels. Besides the slight color difference and the marking, all of the cuts, all of the shapes are exactly the same. Besides this top corner on the PDP barrel being slightly more rounded, but that doesn't seem to interfere with the functions of the gun. So let me go ahead and swap this barrel into the PDP and show you what that looks like. There you go. And since my PPQ is the Navy SD version, it does come with a suppressor. So let me go ahead and put that on the gun. There you go. That's the PDP with the PPQ's Navy SD suppressor. For the time being, if you want to put a can on your PDP, you could just buy a threaded outer barrel for the PPQ. And just to quickly show you that it works. So we're now at the range with our VFC Walther PDP. As you can see, it looks a little bit different. Before we left, we decided to go a little bit crazy with the accessories. So now we have a red dot, we have a weapon light, and we have a suppressor. And with all that added bulk, I think the base plate from the PPQ magazine pairs nicely. Now the whole gun is about double the weight it used to be, but I think it looks pretty cool. I probably wouldn't use it like this, but let's try and take a few shots to see what it feels like. Everything seems to be working normally, except the weight of the suppressor seems to have slowed down the speed of the slide. But now for the actual range test, I'm gonna go ahead and remove most of this and leave just the red dot. After installing a red dot, I also noticed that the optic cutout seems to be a lot lower than a lot of the factory mounts and adapters that you find on other pistols. This brings your line of aim much lower and closer to the bore axis. So you can rely more on the same muscle memory you require from your iron sights to easily acquire that red dot without having to make too much adjustments to your posture or your presentation. In fact, with this particular setup, I can almost co-witness with my red dot and my iron sights. So now let's get this thing dialed in and let's see how it does on the range. Before we hit the range, there's one more thing we need to get out of the way, and that's the hop-up adjustment. So in order to do that, the PDP being a VFC design, you don't need to take the gun apart to access your hop-up. Instead, your adjustment can be made through the recoil spring guide rod using this little socket that comes in the packaging. You can put that over the tip of the spring guide. Once that is inserted, you can turn it clockwise to increase the hop-up and the other way to decrease it. I'm going to give it 5 clicks clockwise for now and see how it shoots. So it's hitting the closer targets fine, but it's still dropping off a little bit at about 30 meters. So let me just go ahead and crank that up a little bit more. 5 more clicks. Now that it's shooting nice and flat, I will step behind the run cam in a moment to show you what the trajectory looks like. Another thing you can also adjust is the rear sight. Yes, the factory iron sights, the Walther PDP, are actually really good sights, and that adjustment can be made with the smallest screwdriver in the world, which comes in the packaging. So you can really dial in that iron sights for that pinpoint accuracy. Another nice thing about the PDP is the packaging already comes with 4 different types of optic mounting plates. So in terms of accessories, besides the gun and the magazine, you get the tiny little screwdriver, you get the hop-up adjustment socket, and also 4 different optic plates. So you're pretty much set up to install whatever optic you want right off the box.
Nice.
So once again, we have a simple course of steel targets as well as several poppers up on a plate rack, and we also have a paper silhouette target which I'll be taking 10 shots at by the end of the course to see what the grouping looks like. Range is hot. Now 10 shots on the paper. So let's take a look at our paper target. As you can see, all 10 shots landed within the alpha zone. We do have a little bit more of a horizontal spread, and that's actually due to my finger placement not being good on the trigger, because I have probably larger than average hand. Without a larger back strap to correct my grip, I did notice that I was wrapping the trigger a little bit, and I was pushing the muzzle a little to the left with each shot. Now, I did try to compensate for that as I went through the course. Now, another thing I noticed is I could definitely use some more practice with the red dot sight. But the PDP has made it a lot easier for me because I was able to rely on my iron sight muscle memory to quickly find that red dot. It's also easy to see why red dots are becoming so popular with handguns because it just makes those follow-up shots so much faster. And with the PDP, the dot was pretty much snapping right back into my views after each shot. I do also want to say that VFC did a phenomenal job with the trigger on the PDP. Both the trigger pull, in terms of the break, the wall of the trigger, as well as the reset, both felt very clear. And the weight of the trigger wasn't too light and actually felt somewhat like a real gun's trigger. And as a little bonus, we have not one, but 2 PDPs for our video today. It's not every day we get to film with 2 identical guns. It would be criminal to end this video without a little bit of a Akimbo action. So I'm thinking it would go something like this. Although there doesn't seem to be any real advantages to dual wielding, I guess besides wasting ammo faster, I do think it looks pretty cool for the camera. I want to end today's video with a quick message. Having an airsoft gun is kind of like having a penis. It's not illegal in and of itself, but you shouldn't be exposing it outside of appropriate circumstances. So for the sake of our community, if you're not at an airsoft field or a proper shooting range, please keep your gun zipped up. Not everybody is happy to see what you have in your zippers. This is Louis from Quasmar Airsoft, signing off.
But wait, there's more!
As we were making the video, it came to our attention that there is actually a potential slight breakage issue with the PDP. And this has happened to a lot of other players who bought this pistol. So let me just go ahead and show you that there is a crossbar right here. The crossbar serves its purpose with these 2 threaded holes, which is what you use to hold the cover in place. And it also protrudes into the underside of the mounting plate to help hold your optic in place. In this case, this bar has a tendency to break off because, first of all, there's actually very little material connecting it with the slide. And what's actually causing it to break is the retraction of the slide. So as you can see here, every time you shoot the gun during the firing cycle, keep in mind that the nozzle is pressurized. So the back edge here has a tendency to crash into the front of that bar. And with this repeated impact, this bar is very likely to break off. As you can see, there's actually already a chip in the back of our nozzle. Now you can prevent this from happening by taking a small file and just rounding off the front bottom edge of that bar so that when your nozzle retracts back into place, it will guide the back of the nozzle downward and back into its position instead of slamming into the bar like this. So as long as you do that, assuming it hasn't already broken off, it should prevent this from happening. If any problems persist, make sure you contact VFC's Pentagon Service Center for technical support.